It's Nancy welcoming you to Garden Scroll. Today is May the 10th, and I've been so busy trying to fill up pots and repair pots from the coconut liner from last year's, and I'm still not anywhere near finished, but I have to take a break from doing that to show you some of the garden, because this is my second most favorite time in the garden, when the roses and the peonies bloom. And some of the beautiful peonies are already spent for the season. I'll need to trim these off so that it can put its energies into its root and making next year's bloom. And most of my roses have gone back to the old roses, and I'll probably never get roses that are grafted on again because they don't stay very long before we have a cold winter that they can't survive, and they just go back to the root rose, which is usually this old style rose, which is pretty, but I want one, not every rose in the garden to be that. So at some point I will want to go ahead and kill these out and get some new ones, some different colored ones here. Look at these pretty peonies. And this beautiful creamsicle rose is blooming so pretty today. And the one there in the back, the pretty pink, bright pink, is really pretty, as is the pretty white peonies. So this is the one rose I would probably keep because it also has honeysuckle growing around it, and I don't want this to become invasive, so I have a fencing put around it, and I try to keep it up so that none of it ever drops down on the ground and starts new ones going. I don't really need more than that. This is an invasive honeysuckle that can give you trouble if you don't keep it in check all the time. And then this is another rose that went back to the old style. And then this is the only little rose that I purchased when I purchased all the others that has not gone back. And it's true that I did just cut out at least 2, maybe 3 little stalks that had this color of a rose on it. But so far I've managed to clip it out and actually go ahead and spray that one little stalk toward the root, and with root kill. So I'm hoping that it'll stay. I'm surprised that it is, though. I'm surprised it's still there in all its beauty. That beautiful orange, creamsicle orange. More peonies, and right beside it the hardy amaryllis. More of the beautiful peonies. And then these are actually where we transferred roses from here to the other fence. And then these came back too, and they are all the old roses. I would actually leave these here too, though. I like them because they're so full. And then I have these little angels here, like 3 in a row, and then there's 3, or I think there is 3. There's 2 here, and then another one just a little ways on down the fence line. And I think I probably would go ahead and keep those, just to keep from having to replace them probably. And I already need to trim back some of this tall phlox because it's going to take over everything there. And I want some of it. It's beautiful, but I don't want that much or that tall for it to get the big pretty blooms on it, the big heads of little blooms. but when they get heavy with rain or water, they have a tendency to fall over, as of course do the peonies. Some of my peonies I have supports on, and someday I'd like to have them on all of them. But I was showing my husband what I did yesterday. I just started on this side and went up and trying to get things done, and I had to replace coconut liners, and then this little pot I filled out with plants has a new start for the season. I just put a little sedum in this little pot that my sister gave me, or actually she gave me the pole and had a beautiful cup on it, but now of course that cup is missing because of a hailstorm that we once had and took it out. And I've also been trying to go ahead and use my little starts from the window. This is one of them, but I still have several that I need to go ahead and get in the garden. And I dreamed last night that I was going to stop saving those in the window and taking care of them all winter long, and then bringing them out here to see if they will maybe live or not. But then, you know, if just a few of them live and do well and thrive, and at some point you can't even tell the ones that looked scraggly and like nothing from the ones that you purchased just this year fresh and new, because they can do that, but I do lose a lot of them too. So I had 4 of these trays, and now I have 2. So even though you can't tell that I've done a lot in the garden, I really have, but it just takes so long, and it seems like you're getting nowhere. But then one day they get beautiful, which the ones that don't die. Speaking of which, my beautiful bacopa that I showed you with this pretty blue flowers, and it hangs down, but it's looking so terrible. I don't know if it's going to make it. I really don't know what to try to do for it. I may try to trim it back. Sometimes that really works on some plants. And then I have a calabachoa that was looking great, and now it's just looking dead. And that would be this one right here. Right here, it just looks so pathetic now, but it was so pretty, and I don't know if it has a chance or not. I also had, I think, about 5 of these little trays full of plants, and now I only have 3. Oh my goodness, I still have so much to go, and I wanted to take the time to clean my house a little bit too. I have my long-time friend is coming to see the garden, and we're going to go and see Horse Creek also, because it's just such a pretty place to look at. So I'm hoping I get to do some. I'm pretty sure we'll get to do some of that, and it'll be great. I wish I could get it all looking good, though. It just make me feel great, but in all likelihood that's probably not going to happen. There's just too much to do. I just have more to do than I can get done per normal. But I don't want to quit. I don't really want to quit. I would like to get it down to a size I can handle it, which most people do that, but then, you know, there's me. But this was never meant to be just a personal garden. It was meant so that I could make the inspirational DVDs, and if you haven't purchased one, you need to purchase one. I think it would be very enjoyable for you. Look at this little yellow petunia. It took off and went. It just loved being where it was planted. And my strawberry pot flowers are still looking good. I had one that died, and I think a snail got it. But other than that, it's doing good right now. I hope it just continues on to do great. But I can tell that I've had some snail eating on this too. I will most likely have to replace these little plants. This is one of my personal favorites, and it surprised me because I didn't know that white would be one of my favorite colors. but it certainly is. When this peony blooms, I do realize that white can just be gorgeous. You read that all the time if you read anything in the little flower magazines. People are always bragging about their green and white gardens, and I certainly get that, even though I'll still go for the color. I just also love color. Look at this. I think I've showed it to you before, but isn't this a beautiful peony? I'm sorry, petunia. This is a beautiful petunia. And since I went to the front gardens to show you what I have left still to plant, so you could get an idea of what I actually have planted, I wanted to also show you some of the roses around here. Look at this. Isn't this beautiful? This is my almost black rose. And of course, I've told you before, I would come more to calling it a almost red. It is so bright and beautiful red. And while the iris are beginning to wane, there are still some that are beautiful. And this little peony is just about gone too, but it was a beauty, and I did get my little doggy all fixed back up again and back in the garden. My friend Alma looked at it, and she actually gave this to me years ago, and she said, Nancy, sometimes you just have to let things go. And I know she's right. I actually do get to that point, but I'm glad I didn't let it go sooner. And look at this little beauty. Oh, and this is another pot that I did not yesterday, but the day before. And this little vine is a Mexican flame vine, and I've been without one a couple or so years now, and I was definitely ready to have it back when it blooms. It's a beautiful bright orange bloom, and I put some of that pretty bright bright orange lantana in there with it too. And I put those little scraggly window clippings that I rooted all along in these pots here. In the front pots, I have hostas in the back pots, but I wanted to show you these. These actually are looking great. I know they're small and they don't seem like much, but I'll try to show you this later on, and hopefully it will just fill out, and you will see what I mean by it keeps going and going, and you can tell there's a few little scraggly ones here. I don't know if they will all make it, but I think some of them have some great potential to make it. So I'm hoping, and this is not one of those particular kind, but this is a different one that is actually looking healthy. And I put one over here, which is not looking very healthy, but it's alive. If they're alive, they can always take off and go. Now this one, I don't think it may not make it, but actually this little stem is solid. It's not all wilty and withered. So, and I do have some little starts in here too that I hope will make it and look great and do great for the rest of the season. You can tell I also just put some new little not clippings, but new little nursery starts in here too. And here's another one of the little starts from the window, and I'm taking the ones that I know are not going to make it off of here, so that it can put all of its energy into living for me, and then it can put its energy into keeping going and looking great. This is another little pot that has those little strawberry drop coleus in them that are just little scraggly starts right now, and hopefully will be looking great a little later. And I see some nibbles off of my beautiful little hosta there. I'm going to get some spray right now and spray that. There, I got that little job taken care of. And this one, you can see how it's so much more sparse than the others, and that's because I found a snail in there. I've got to get, I'll either plant something else here, plant a seed. Zinnias would look good there too. So I may do that, or I may just put some more starts from these into this little pot. This is the only one of my little Hurricane Jenny coleus that made it, and actually it broke off when I put it in there, but it could still start a root and go up, which I'm hoping it will do. This little one is a start from the window too. So hopefully we won't get any drastic heat or wind for just a little while until they can toughen up. And I know I'm not showing you anything beautiful right now. It's all so scraggly, but they could still become great beauties, and I'm hoping that they will. This one died out once already, and that was because we had several days of pretty intense heat before our cool front came back, and we've enjoyed that. It's been hot since then, but it's been in the 80s and 70s, not in the 90s, so they've been able to survive, and I think they're doing really good. But you can see that I have them everywhere, these little starts, and some of them hopefully will do well for me. And I did go ahead and fill out most of the pots here, or put something in them, maybe not full, but something where they can have a little start and hopefully do well. Can you tell me what tree this is? I think I planted this here, but I'm not sure. I think it's very possible that a bird planted this here for me, but I don't know what kind of tree it is. So I'd like to find that out. If you know, please let me know. So far it's a small little tree and a pretty little tree, so far I'm keeping it. Oh, and I almost forgot to tell you, my friend Susie did give me some of these, and I had ordered some. I ordered these on the top, and instead of just one, I got this whole big cluster, so I put some of the little ones in some of the areas, and then she gave me some more, which this is one of them. And this big beautiful one right here is one of them. And I put the others in this little pot. These are the smaller ones, and this is a giant beautiful one. I hope I can keep them. You know, I've tried before. She did this for me last year, and mine died, and then hers just kept going till they look like this, which is wonderful. They do look so beautiful growing for her, and I'm hoping I can get them growing like that too. I also put this little pot together yesterday, and this one, when you first walk out the gate, you can see this little pot, and I always like her to shine somewhat in the garden, so hopefully she will, with some bright pretty petunias. I think the one on this side is also a double petunia, and then some pretty bright vinca in the back. And I put this one together day before yesterday. At least my calabacho, and this one is looking great. I wish they all would look like that and just keep going and keep looking that good and better as the season wears on. That would be great. And then right over here is my favorite of the peonies, which is the bowl of beauty. And I will go over on that side and get this a little closer for you too, so you can just see how pretty it is. And then this little pot, she had lost all of her sedum in it, so I put some fresh sedum in. And I filled up this little pot, this little tiny strawberry pot, with some pink rose moss and set her up on this little stand, because otherwise she was getting hidden in this ground cover. Oh, and I see that this pretty little iris, this is one of my favorite iris. When it blooms, I love this white, just outlined in bright purple. This is the Bowl of Beauty. I think this is my first peony, and I love them all, but this is definitely my favorite. My little hosta is looking great. I moved it from over behind this tall phlox where it was practically hidden, and I put a taller hosta over here, but of course right now it's not taller, it's just a little root with a little bit of green coming up, but hopefully it will get big and beautiful and you'll be able to see it even from just looking from out in the garden. And then this is, my husband noticed this morning that this is beginning to open up too. This is a tiny little miniature rose that looks good on this, I think. And I'm pretty sure it'll open up more still too. But this little hosta is doing great. Even after I moved it, I was lucky enough to get to move it when that cooler weather hit, and it just didn't mind it a bit. I had the bright idea to put sedums in my pot so that I wouldn't have to redo them every year, but actually this is the only thing that came back, so I had to redo this one too. But I just clipped off some little clippings, put them in rooting powder and set them out here, and they look great right now, so hopefully they'll do great the rest of the season, at least maybe even come back next year. I had not cleaned this little pot out, so I finally got my ladder out and got up there and cleaned it out, and it does have its little sedum coming back, so that's great. And then I put this had fallen over, and I set it back up and set it down in the ground a little bit farther and put some stakes around it where hopefully it will hold. I also had a chocolate vine coming up there, which they are pretty much invasive, I've discovered, so I don't want them. I took it out. There's nothing there right now, but I have some clematis or clematis ordered that I'll probably try to get started here. And this little pot, it's got tiny little rose moss from seed from last year coming up, so I'm just going to leave it alone and let it do its thing. And then we're back to some more beautiful roses. These are red or bright fuchsia pink, but you can tell they're not the old roses. This is a new, this is one of its own root roses. The color it was actually supposed to be. And this is another one of the little rootings that I kept in the window, which is not so little, it's actually very big. I'm not sure, the stem doesn't look so great, so we'll see how it will work. If it starts to wilt, I may just clip the top of that off, or I may anyway if I find a spot where I need this, because they grow pretty good size during the season, so I may get to have 2 plants out of this one. And these little pots, I put some more coconut liner in them, and I put sedum in it. I had a little bit of sedum, but I just went ahead and filled it up with more sedum, which should spread out still some more and fill these out in time, and then I won't have to worry about trying to keep a plant watered enough in these little pots. They just need more water than I can get to them. And then I put a little purslane moss in this little pot. And you can tell I didn't get finished. I got stuff everywhere that I need to do. It's just crazy. But if you can overlook that, you can see a lot of beauty and a lot of work that's been done. This little one is a new one from the window, or not new, but new to this pot, new to this season, and hopefully she'll do great. I filled up this pot. I put a dragon wing begonia in this little pot. I love it here. It seems to do well. It just keeps going and going and looking beautiful. And then I just put a little blue spruce sedum in this little pot. I'll go over here a little bit and show you this pot with this little girl in it. And I got her pot all fixed up, and hopefully it will do well and flourish and fill it out and just draw attention to her all season long. And then of course I brought my plants out just recently too. That was last week though. But in this is my little curly airplane plant, and it just almost died through the winter. And this is my begonia, which did really well, so I'm hoping it will continue to do well. I put this little corn dracaena that you can't really see hardly, but it's there. I put this one in the front, and I realized that's not working, so I had to cut the dead parts off where the sun had already just got to it. So I took that off and put it back here where it gets more shade. And as soon as I get this, when I get finished going around and showing you what's going on right now in the garden, right here is where I'll start back up again and see what I can get done today. I think I may have already showed you these, but this is the one I bought, just a tiny little plant of this. And it just took off all winter long. I was so proud of it. It did so well, and this little plant has done well. This one started out doing well, but for some reason I just have a terrible time with succulents, hens and chicks. I don't know if I overwater them. I just don't know. I've tried everything and I haven't had luck, but I'm going to keep trying until something happens good. But this one is new. It just came in last week, I think, or no, it's probably been 2 weeks now. But this is called Autumn Embers Begonia, and I love it. This one I purchased at a Lowe's. I believe that's where I got this one. But anyway, it's a beautiful little plant. I've already told you that I'm besotted with begonias. And then this one I got, it was tiny. It really is not that big now, but compared to how small it was when I got it, it is, and it's looking great. Wandering Jew plant, it looked great, except so much of it had died out, so I actually put it in 2 different pots, and they look a little scraggly right now, but I'm expecting them to go ahead and just fill out and be beautiful. I hope that's what they do. And I could always clip off some of these to make it a little fuller inside if I need to. I'm not sure that I need to, because it was really a little bit too conglomerated there in the one pot. That's why I went ahead and put it in 2 different ones. I set this little plant here to wait its turn, and actually I think it's pretty there. I may go ahead and dig it a little hole and put it right there with this, with the lilies. And this is an earth sign plant. I was going over to show you this other, this is it's kind of a hairy, soft, wandering Jew. And look at this beautiful rose. This is one of the little single roses, but it is just all filled out and looking great. And then of course this is a beautiful peony here too. It's one of my favorites, and this is one that I gave a start to my friend Susie that's coming Friday, and we're gonna enjoy some time together. This pot has a bougainvillea in it, and I know it's looking terrible. All my little house plants that I bring back out are really looking bad because they're not used to this kind of temperatures and winds and everything, but I'm pretty sure they will get used to it and toughen up and be pretty again. I hope it will bloom and just be a beauty. And then there's another little miniature rose. And in keeping with the same color scheme, look at this little peony. Isn't it beautiful? And then this was also one of my little begonias that I tried, but it's going to have to go a long way before it can come out of that. And this is my my crown of thorns, my new yellow blooming crown of thorns. So, and it didn't have, my other little crown of thorns had several little stems. So, and it's almost dead now. I just have one that I got back from my sister. I had given her one, and she gave me a little piece of hers so that I have another start, which hopefully will live. But this one is looking okay right now, just that one yellow leaf, and I'm hoping it will do great and bloom, and I hope to get her a start from it. And also I did get this little girl's pot all filled out. And this little one's, I had to totally redo the coconut liner in this one. I was just going to try to patch it up at the top where it needed it the most, but when I tried to pick it up, it was so dilapidated that it just fell apart, and I just had to, well, you can see I let the dirt fall right there. And then I went ahead and put some new soil in, new plants in, and she has another new start for a new season. And that's where I quit. I've got to get something in this little pot too, hopefully today. And this little pot that my brother gave me, I don't have it done up yet either. It does have a yarrow in here that came back from last year, so that's great. I wish there was one in the back. I may go ahead and put one in the back and see if it's not too late to get it started. But I would like some verbena or trailing periwinkle or petunias or double petunias, just trailing out the front of this, if I can get that done at some point. And this little pot got the beautiful verbena, the bright pink, and it's already showing off for me. It's like, well, you could have done this sooner, and I could have done this sooner. But looks like I'm going to lose this one right here. It's got a little where it's broken off, but hopefully the rest of it will take off and go. And then it does have some of those tiny little pieces back here in the back, but they could grow up and just be great beauties before it's all over. We'll see. This one is tall, but it's thin and it doesn't look great right now, but hopefully it will too. Oh, I wanted to get this pretty tiny little iris for you, but it's closed up and gone, so I missed my opportunity. These little pots still all need to be filled with something, maybe just some rose moss, but I may need to get some more of that too. And then I have several of the containers where I put a vine to go up. This one happens to be a tomato cage that I have it for growing a vine up. I did clip away this rose a little bit from a little decor over here. And then this one is the regular obelisk. And my little seagull fell off her perch, so I'm going to have to put her back on too. There's always something that has to be done in the garden, of course. But I need to fill this up and make it pretty also. Looks like I can only show you one bloom on this. This is called Bullseye Rose. I think this little peony is called Shirley Temple. You can tell the winds got after this one, and it's going away. But you can see some of its beauty still left. And the clematis are looking great. We still have a few of the iris over here, but I have not trimmed the old dead ones off so they don't look so great. I'm sorry. I would love to have that just all looking great for you. But I didn't want to miss the opportunity to show you some of it anyway. It's just so much beauty when the peonies and the roses are blooming. That's when there's the most beauty in the garden. And this is that little dewtail. I didn't even remember that I planted a piece of it over here. I'm so glad I did. Oh, that looks like one of those bugs that I just hate. I'll probably need to spray again for them. I do not want those to eat all my peonies up. They go away soon enough without any help. We're certainly hoping for some rain this week, which there's still another chance, I think, and I'm hoping we do get it tomorrow. I'm going to have to redo some of the stuff already that I've done before. And I would still like to take these and put up, just kind of transplant them into the back part of this little pot, so the whole thing will be filled out with this pretty sedum. More on root roses that have their color that they were when I purchased them. I guess I'll go down this side of the fence because, oh, look at that pretty white peony from this view, and then the orange creamsicle single roses on that side. But this side I have not got to. Oh, but I could show you these beautiful clematis. I love the dark ones, and I noticed that Susie did too, because she pointed out the dark ones that she has out to me, and she has several pretty clematis. This is going all the way up. It's almost all the way up this little stand already, and I will need to trim that back some so that it will bloom, hopefully bloom all at the same time, because that makes the prettiest showing. But as far as any of these pots over here, other than the very, well, this one that's like got two tiers to it, I do have some things in it, but all the rest of them are still awaiting me to put something in them. So I will take you back down this side of the fence a little bit, and then I'm going to have to close up and get busy getting something else done in the garden. But so much I did not want you to miss. Oh, and looks like this little rose is fixing to open. This is the false indigo in white. It's such a pretty little plant. I love it. Even without the bloom, it's a pretty little green or yellow green plant. And the bloom, this is its actual bloom. It looks like a bud. It looks like little fat buds, and that's its pretty bloom. I did do what I said as far as putting these little pots that don't keep much moisture in them. I'm gonna fill them up with sedums and succulents, and I think I'm gonna like it. They look great there. There's not a whole lot of color, but there's some color, and you know, green is a color too, just like white is a color too. And I was so afraid that my little Joseph's coat rose was not going to live. It was looking like that all over, but it came back up from decided and has put on new growth and is doing great, and I'm so proud that it did. And Susie's going to bring me a Somnia star plant. And first let me show you mine. So I'm going to leave this spot and then come back to it in a minute. So this is my little miniature one, which I just kind of put under this pot. And I need to probably put a bigger pot or something there, and definitely put something pretty in it to kind of show it off a bit. But this is its pretty little star flower. And I think maybe the one that she gave me, or is going to bring me, I think maybe she's got, it may get these same little flowers on it, but the leaves, the foliage is so totally different. I didn't notice it when she first started to give it to me, and I told her I already have one of those, but thank you, you know, and she let me give it to Rosie, my sister. So now we'll all three have one. So this is another pot that I did, and right behind it there is my star flower, the regular size, and this is probably about as big as it will grow. It's about 3 foot tall, I think, and it does have the pretty little star flowers on it. Let me get up closer so you can see it a little bit better. They don't last very long, and its main attraction is just its pretty foliage, because it turns a pretty yellow in the fall. But these leaves, although they're pretty, and they are that little strappy leaves, but the one that she has is a regular needle-like leaf, so fine, and just a very pretty plant, which I'm glad I have this one too. But really the other one is just more impressive in the garden because of those little needle-like fine foliage that it has. And from anything I could find on Google, with a little bit of time I had, of course, but I think that this may be called a willow Arkansas Somnia, or however you say that, star flower, blue star flower, and that's why its foliage is a little different. And then there's these beautiful pink roses too. On the way back I'll have to show these to you, and this is the most I think I've had on it when it's pink, because the ones that are not blooming yet are actually the red roses, the knockout roses. So one time it'll be pink, and it may be some pink and red all at the same time, but I think most of these go away and then the red comes on. So I have two plants on, two different roses on this little trellis, and two different colors, two different bloom times, and it's just wonderful. So we're back to the fence line across from the pretty white peonies, and they're pretty pink ones there in the background. And my little battery light is flashing, so I may not get to show you a whole lot more, so I'm going to go a little bit faster down here. Look at this beautiful rose here. More peonies. Iris. Columbine. More peonies. Something I need to fix again. Oh, and I don't know if I showed you this or not either, but this is new to the garden for this year. This little decor piece. So then that pretty much brings us back to where we started. This is the pretty orange rose, orange creamsicle color. And then I'm glad I came back over here because I forgot to point out this pretty yellow. It's like the white that I just showed you. Now I can't think of the name of it, for goodness sake. False indigo. This is the yellow one. I did plant a purple or blue one at one time, but it didn't make it. It didn't get established, but I may try another one someday or not. I'm having trouble finding spots for anything more. But it's a beautiful plant. So there is so much done and so much more to do. And then my house is patiently, maybe not even still patient about it, waiting for me. Please be sure to like and to subscribe to the channel.